Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. And actually, I thought the first three presentations were excellent because I hardly ever know the sort of requirements from these other regions and other countries. And it's really interesting how different countries go about this. My first slide, I actually get to answer one of the first questions that was sent to me before. And the person asked the star and key of the Indian Ocean, why? Right underneath that, you see in Latin the same thing, Stella clavisque maris indici. If you go over and look at the left-hand side, the coat of arms of Mauritius, that is the bottom line. So the star and key of the Indian Ocean in Latin is on their coat of arms. Their coat of arms was granted by King Edward VII in 1906 to honor them because earlier on what happened was Dutch and British and French traders would sail down the Atlantic, go around the Cape, come into the Indian Ocean and stop at Mauritius and refuel and then head back on to wherever they were going, India or Borneo or Australia. And so Mauritius just became known as this is the place to stop and this is the entry into the Indian Ocean. So that's my first question. Beallara Group, we're experts in residential real estate in Mauritius and in Moscow. Our founder is Anahita Albitskaya, along with Ruslan Salmanov. We've been in the Moscow real estate area since 2011. In 2018, Beallara was founded specifically for dealing with Mauritius. We have a small staff. We're not a really big company. Most of our agents are on pure commission, which means over the past 3 months, they really have been sort of suffering. But our team includes all the perfect interruption from my dog. The team includes what you would need for a small online focused real estate company. We have quite a bit of experience, closed a lot of transactions in 2016 through 2019. We're very much focused on Mauritius. We found out about Mauritius for the first time when they came to Moscow on a trade mission sponsored by the Economic Development Board from Mauritius in October 2018. We were invited to that by the Mauritius Embassy here. We then met and exchanged ideas and went back to Mauritius as part of the reciprocal Russian trade mission sponsored in 2018. The second visit to Beallara Group was in April 2019. We met more developers. We really explored the island. We understood lifestyle options, which we think are very, very critical for a decision about where you might want to have residency, a second residency or citizenship. We launched our website recently, June 2019. We initiated what we call Discover Mauritius. It's a program where we bring potential investors and we go look around Mauritius, bring them to a number of developers based on what they like to see and do and the lifestyle they think they might want to live. We have agency agreements with probably the 6 best, with 4 more very close to being signed. As everyone knows, the last 3 months have been very difficult. Mauritius is now out of quarantine, but their borders are not open. They unfortunately had a death toll of 10 people, which isn't very much. They haven't had any new cases in 6 weeks, and so that's what's allowed them to go back to work. but they did have 2 cases that were imported by boat a week and a half ago. They have released something by the Economic Development Board called the Economy of Life, the new normal, the new economy of life, the Economic Development Board budget newsletter. It's very recent, just a couple of weeks old, and has their response and action based on COVID and their attempts to restart investment and international trade. Now, because I think that most people on the call won't know much about Mauritius, I'll talk about Mauritius for a little bit. It's down there very close to, relatively speaking, Madagascar and the Seychelles Islands. It's south of the Seychelles, 1,700 kilometers. In spite of where it is, there's connectivity from every major point in the world. And then you can see over on the far right-hand side, Madagascar is 1,100 kilometers away, Seychelles 1,700. 1.3 million people, 2,000 square kilometers landmass. It's a volcanic island, and so it's very mountainous in the center and very lush, has jungles and forests and right down to the water and the beaches. Literacy rate is very high. The languages are English and French, and actually Creole is a native language, which is sort of like French. It's an offshoot of French. GDP 3.6%. GDP per capita was 12,218 in 2018. They came from the last in Africa to the first in Africa from 2000 to 2018. They have a number of international accolades which are very important. The World Bank Ease of Doing Business. So if you actually want to go there, invest, start a company, invest in a company, they're easy. They're easier than most places to deal with. There's all of the rest of these. You can read those. I have a lot of slides, but basically the point of this slide, it's very competitive. It's very modern. It is not what you think of as a tropical island. The corporate tax rate is 15%, no capital gains tax, partial exemption regimes in taxation. You can incorporate in 2 hours. You can have 100% foreign ownership, free movement of your capital, and you have a very good bilingual workforce available. There's a number of business opportunities, and really for the best list is in this report that I referred to in the second or third slide. But manufacturing, they do things, they have very good manufacturing, financial services, tourism, and real estate. They also have started a network of smart cities. And basically a smart city is a place where you can have a very nice residential area combined with retail and business and office space, connected and built on connectivity, and that way you can locate around the island where you would like to as a company, or as an individual you can buy in these smart cities as well. They have a very reputed and trusted financial system, cross-border investment services, the support and professional services. These are things for like offshore family offices, multi-currency stock exchange, and so it's a world-class there. Kind of went too fast on that one. and they're very focused on innovation. So health tech, biotech, the digital industry, they're creating data centers that are sustainable off of renewable energy, regulatory sandbox license, which gives license to create, basically. How they want to position themselves globally is a regional headquarters to invest in Africa, much like Singapore has done that in Asia, in Southeast Asia. They want to do that for Africa. An ideal platform for financial services like family office, like wealth and asset management, and like banking services. They have a very good education system. They have University of Mauritius has associations with Russian universities in particular, because we try to stress that for our local clientele, but also with the UK and with France. And then, as I said, the smart island with digital ecosystems. And these are a number of the reasons you would invest through Mauritius to Africa. They are far and above the easiest place to do business with. They have very high level of security, very good workforce. They're considered part of the African community. You can see on the upper left-hand side, they're in tripartite agreements with all of COMDESA. SADC is the South African development countries, 16 different countries, and EAC. So they have business associations, formal business associations with all. Now to get a little bit more towards the topic of what we came to hear about today. There's good news on taxation and fees. 15% VAT on goods and services. There's no tax on dividends or capital gains. There's a 15% income tax rate. No inheritance tax for direct heirs. No controls on the repatriation of profits, dividends, or capital. No wealth tax. No foreign exchange controls. This next rather long paragraph is basically you can get a residence permit for investing $375,000. And this is in residential real estate. It can be in different forms of corporate real estate or different investment schemes. So it is not just buying residential real estate, but I'm focused more on that. You can have full ownership yourself or in the name of a company registered in Mauritius. US-based capital appreciation and rental income. So it's the way they look at it is dollar denominated. What else? The others, the fees at the bottom are sort of normal fees that you will see in real estate transactions, and these are relatively small. Over on the right-hand side, the two things, once again, $375,000 for an investment. It's governed under British and French law, which seems to work. And residency for 5 years leads to the naturalization application process. It's also a leading destination, or has been for the last 2 years, for ultra high net worth individuals, according to Client and Wealth Management magazine. And they have a very thorough AML and KYC process that's performed by the government in order to make sure anyone who's investing is not a ne'er-do-well, that they'll be a good investor and a good part of the society. If you want to move a business or start a business through an overseas family office, then the following is in place. It's 100% foreign ownership is authorized. You can have single family or multi-family offices, and the only real difference is that if you have a single family office, you have a 5 million investment threshold. And if you have a multi, it's 5 million per family. So if you want to have a multi-family office with 5 families, then you'll have 25 million in investable capital. There's a 5-year tax holiday on the income from this. There's no tax on dividends or capital gains. You get a residence permit upon licensing, so the office, the overseas family office is licensed, and then you get the residence permit, and your family members get residence permits and work permits as well. You are tax resident in Mauritius if you're there over 183 days, as in most places, and there's many structural options for what you can do with your family office. Over on the right is just, basically, if you ever go into opening a family office, you look for a company with experience and who can guide you through this and understands the peculiarities in Mauritius. There are at least 3. We partner with 2 of them, but there's at least 3 that are very highly qualified. I'll talk a little bit about real estate investments because that's really our focus. You can invest as a primary residence, secondary residence, corporate home, or rentals. The rental returns on your investment are normally between 4 to 8%. I have heard capital returns, capital appreciation over a 4-year horizon was 30%, but I haven't actually seen those closures. But that's what the different. There's 2 or 3 different developers that have rental companies to help you through this, and that's part of their appeal. The really fun part is looking at things, looking at what sort of properties we're talking about. So this is Anahita. It's down in the south, over on the west side. They have a very large development that has they've been around for quite some time. They have different phases. This is one of their villa horizons, a 3-bedroom, very large, very elegant. This is Asmara. They're on the west coast, about halfway down, a little bit south of halfway. They have this basically complex with villas on the front line on the beach, and then beyond that a complex and larger apartments, and then more standard apartments kind of in the 3rd row. This one is Azuri. It's a Gulf View villa. They're a community up in the upper right-hand side of Mauritius, north and east. This sits on a golf course, but when I say community, this truly is. They have retail, they have grocery stores, they have a Montessori preschool. So what they want, a place where people can comfortably live, where they can work from their villas or apartments, or they can go to some local office space. And this is another called the Aurore Beach Villas. You'll see it's the one foremost to us. And you would think that beach villas are freestanding single family homes, but these are sort of misnamed. The very front row are 2 units. You go back and then you're into 3 levels. It's also a community, but this sort of beach villa complex, the pricing is much more competitive depending upon your budget. And the last thing I'll talk about for a few minutes before we move on to Q&A for everyone is that we think it's very important that you pick a place where you want to live or have a second residence based on how comfortable you will be living there. Most people, as I said, probably don't know Mauritius, so they don't really know the options that most people, I think, would think that it's some sort of tropical island like Madagascar, which is completely different, 100% different. Um, and it's not. This is a very modern place where you can live the lifestyle that you would like to. So, I made up a list of all of these normal and easy to do excursions and, things like cooking schools. They have fine restaurants. You can dine. They have traditional lifestyle things which bring back the feel of old Mauritius. Um, all of these sorts of things. They do have nightclubs, but it's nowhere near Marbella, I have to admit that. Um, but they have places where people can go out and congregate and collect. There's lifestyle options for kids. There's kids camps. There's horseback riding. There's hiking. They have a safari park because it's down on the same latitude as Madagascar and South Africa, and these animals live indigenously at that latitude. And just some more visuals. It's a very dynamic place. There are many, many things to do. But the only way you really can know is to go there and visit. I don't think you would want to. Maybe you want to buy a home online, but I would suggest you visit. This is just, and this is going out with the handout, so you don't have to. I don't have to spend time. But this is the sort of thing we try to do to bring potential investors to Mauritius and to show them the type of places they're interested and let them discover the island on their own and just so they can get a good feel about whether they really, really would want to invest there. Again, these are our contact details. They'll go out with the presentation. And my final slide is, this is Mauritius. You can have your picture here. We'd be happy if you joined us.